For ACUsports.com, I'm Grant Boone as we talk some football with the Wildcat football program opening up at Baylor to start the 2018 season on Saturday. We've got the head coach, Adam Dorrel, and we've got starting quarterback, Luke Anthony. Luke, let's start with you. After a fall camp in which you go against each other, finally you get to play somebody else. After all of that work, what's the excitement level of this team going into McLean Stadium Saturday?
I think this game has kind of been on the map for us as long as they've been scheduled. So I think for us getting through fall camp and getting through that third week, which is always the toughest of fall camp, I think we're all pretty focused, and I think we've all been preparing for this moment for a while.
Obviously, Southland Conference schedule won't begin for a couple of weeks when you take on Houston Baptist, and those are the games that will determine whether or not you go to the playoffs. But what does Saturday represent in terms of a challenge and also as an opportunity?
I think obviously it's a cool opportunity for us to be able to take on a Power 5 team that's in the state of Texas. So I think a lot of our guys know some of their players, so it's going to be a cool opportunity to compete with some kids we came up in the high school system with. And then obviously it's just a different magnitude of a game that we've played here at ACU and maybe ever. So I think it's a cool opportunity, and we understand the challenge that's ahead of us, but we're going to make the most of it and fire our bullets early.
You talk about some guys that you know growing up. You and their starting quarterback at Baylor, Charlie Brewer, you played a little 7-on-7 against each other, didn't you?
Yeah, going into my senior year, he was going into his junior year, and we played in the state 7-on-7 tournament in the quarterfinals, I think. And he's a pretty good player and accurate quarterback with a good football IQ, so it'll be fun to play against him.
All right, sounds like what they say about you, your coaches. Now, most importantly for you, you've been looking at their defense, and when you see that Baylor defense, what do you see?
I see a group of guys that rally to the football really well. I think their front can play 3 down or 4 down and can get to the quarterback, and they clog lanes pretty well. So I think they'll be a pretty hard-nosed team on the defensive side. All
right, let's talk to your head coach here, Adam. It has been a grueling but really encouraging fall camp. But now you get to hit somebody else, and how excited are you for that?
Yeah, our team's very excited. I think obviously we need to practice today, and there's some things we got to touch up on, and then tomorrow. But really, we're at that point where practicing against each other isn't going to do us any more good. You know?
Reach a point, don't you?
Yeah, you do. It's kind of the point of diminishing return, and so we need to go out and compete against a different opponent, play at that game speed that we're going to get, and hopefully it's going to make us a better football team. I'm confident it will. We're very excited about the challenge in front of us.
You made it through fall camp really with no significant injuries, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, Grant. We came out of there for the most part very healthy. You know, I try not to be superstitious, but as a coach, I hate talking about that. Yeah. But we did, and I think that speaks a lot to our coaches. I think we were smart in fall camp, and I think it speaks to our medical staff and our strength staff. They've done a really good job in the off-season getting our guys ready to go.
We look at Baylor and we see some similarities with your team. Second-year head coach Matt Rule came from Temple, and now he's trying to rebuild things there. They, like you, found your starting quarterback of the future at the end of last year. We talked about Charlie Brewer. When you look at him, what did you see from the end of last year?
Well, I think he competes at a really high level. What I saw was he wasn't starstruck. You know, he was out there playing hard and made really good decisions. I think he's got great arm strength. Good mobility and moves in the pocket. Doesn't get home. For a freshman, he just didn't get really homed in on guys. He looked off safeties really well and threw it really well. And so, he's got some experience under his belt, but he's a good player.
We talk about our fans certainly looking at Baylor, and we know that they play in the Big 12. When you start trying to quantify some of the differences, it is stark. You start with scholarships. Sure. They've got 22 more than we do available. But in terms of size and speed, this is just not the kind of team we're going to see very often, is it?
No, probably not. And so I think for me, Grant, and our coaching staff and our players, we're not looking at it in a negative way. We're trying to look at it in a really positive way. Everything that we're doing right now, we want to compete at the highest level we can Saturday, and we want to win the game. But, week 1 and week 2 are really, we're trying to get ourselves ready for the conference play. And so I just think you're going to see a lot of that week 1, not just with our game across the country, with the new redshirting rule. You're going to see, I think, a different style of play these first couple weeks for a lot of teams. We're trying to find what we have so when we get to week 3, we know what guys can do and what they can't do, and just, try to hone in on their strengths and things that they can help us with. And we have to have a lot more depth than we had last year. We got beat up throughout the season, and so we're really looking at these first 2 games. We're going to play a ton of guys. see what they can do, get them experience. I mean, it's not going to be any bigger and brighter than Saturday, you know, for our guys. And so, you know, whether you're throwing a red shirt in there or a sophomore or a true freshman or a senior, you hope that environment really helps getting us acclimated for the rest of the season.
Quick thought on that redshirt rule where a player could play as many as 4 games without it counting. Has there been a bigger rule change that you can think of the last few years in college football?
You know, I can't think of one. I think this one was really driven by Todd Berry down at the AFCA, and I think it's a great rule. We're excited about it. I'm excited about it. I think it's what's truly best for the student athletes. I think you can get some guys some experience and then not have to potentially waste a year if they're not ready to play. So I love the rule. I think it's a huge rule. But I don't know if I remember one as big.
I like how it keeps kids engaged.
Yes.
If they know they're redshirting on day one, then it is hard. Okay. Most important thing for Saturday, I've heard you telling your team this. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a hostile environment, and they are a big, fast, strong team. Weathering that early first few minutes will be big, won't it?
It will. You know, we've talked. What we're trying to do is go down there and weather the storm. Don't get starstruck. Play at a really, really high level, and don't get down a bunch of scores and don't turn the football over. I'm really confident if we can do that stuff. You know, we've said if we're on the plus side of the turnover battle, we're going to try to make some hay in special teams, make a couple big plays in special teams, minimize their big plays, don't give up a bunch of deep balls over the top, and that's what we're going to try to do the first quarter and hang in there. And I'm confident if we can do that, we're going to be right there and have a chance.
It will be a festive environment on the Brazos River, McLean Stadium, ACU, and Baylor of the Big 12 Saturday night at 7 o'clock.